Welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone, looking at ourselves and the world through the lens of the 21st century. Welcome back. I'm your host, Kristen, and I'm with Cindy and Amber.
Hello.
Hello.
And today we are talking about choosing a pet, or like your family pet, deciding on whether or not to get a pet or what kind of pet, or even like breed specifics. This week, or actually on Sunday, upcoming Sunday, is National Adopt a Pet Day. And so we thought this would be a fun topic to discuss, as we are animal lovers ourselves. And I'm sure that there are a lot of you out there who are also animal lovers and can relate to having to choose a pet, and also sometimes just
the wrong
going
choice of a pet.
Right, and sometimes just impulsively adopting a pet.
You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?
Not every single one of my pets was an impulse.
I'm gonna say same.
Mine not so much.
No. Very it's always very impulsive how I ended up with 4 cats.
Mine have always been selected as a choice. You know, we are seeking a pet.
Amber and I adopted 2 sibling cats, and that was not impulsive. We shopped for those cats.
Yeah. And I think that was the only cat that I ever adopted through a shelter, like fully vetted, as far as they came neutered,
vaccinated and neutered,
and vaccinated,
ready to go.
And we did shop. Like, we looked online for available pets in the area, and then we drove like about 30 minutes, I guess, to a little farm, an adoption farm, and like checked out all the little cats that they had.
The cats weren't farmed there. It wasn't like a puppy mill.
No.
By any means. It was just
it was
lady,
like
a lady who was
fostering
a bunch of animals. Yeah.
My current dog Sophie, even though she was a rescue, she was not an impulsive decision. Oddly enough, my husband and I had been researching Great Pyrenees dogs, and we had been we had done some research about the dog, and we researched that breed to, and we were fascinated with the specifics and the behaviors of that breed. And so we were looking for, we had been watching all the rescue sites looking for one, and we kept talking about getting one, oh, that one's a cute one, let's go look at it. And then we just never did.
Yeah.
But we had been talking about it for a long time. And oddly enough, and we're talking like years probably that we had been looking at them. I had a dog that passed away about 10 years earlier, or 13 years earlier. And we just never got another dog after that. And we were kind of getting in the mood to get another dog. And so we started researching this particular breed, the Great Pyrenees, and decided that was the dog that we wanted. And we started looking at those, but we just never acted on it, and because we were traveling and we were doing things, and it was like, I'm just not sure I'm ready to commit to it, and, so we just kind of talk ourselves out of it and never do anything. But when my father came home with hospice, this dog showed up at my parents' house, and they live like 13 miles out in the middle of the country, in the middle of West Texas. There's a few houses around them, but they are very sparse. And this dog, this white dog, shows up, and she just seems really friendly, but she is like starving. She's like skin and bones. And a lot of people dump their dogs out in the country. And one of the reasons we're doing this talk about choosing that animal is to hopefully you won't make those mistakes. They choose the wrong animal. Maybe they choose a dog that doesn't get along with their other animals, or that doesn't get along with their children, or for whatever reason they dump the dogs out in the country somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And they come up to my mom's house all the time, and she feeds them if they're hungry or whatever, because she just can't stand to see an animal starving. She feeds the skunks or she did when she lived there. And so anyway, this dog came up, and it was just hanging around for weeks and eating out of her trash. And so she started kind of feeding it. And we thought at first maybe it might have belonged to one of the neighbors. And then we kind of decided, it's really skinny. I think it got dumped. And I got to, my brother-in-law and my brother played with the dog, and the kids kind of went out and played with the dog. Really friendly little dog. I say little, she was probably 40-something pounds at that point. And I got to looking, and I was like, this dog has double dew claws, and she's a solid white dog. And I said, that's a Pyrenees trait. And she just seemed like a really neat dog. And so I told my husband, there's this dog out here, and I know we've been talking about rescuing a dog, and I think she's a Pyrenees. And I showed him a picture, and he was like, oh yeah, she's really cute. And I went back home, and, like 3 weeks later, I said, if that dog's still there, maybe I'll take her to the vet and see if she's okay, and if she is, would you want this dog? And he was like, yeah, sure. Okay. So I take this dog in, and sure enough, she is a Pyrenees, and we're pretty sure she's full bred. At the time, we thought she might be a mix because she was so small, but we've later decided she was, for one, not full grown yet, and also very, very malnourished. So she never really grew to her full size, but she's probably an 80-pound dog now. And I've had her for, I don't know how many years, but literally, she was not an impulse. We had been searching for that kind of dog. She turned up on my doorstep, serendipity. And she just happened to be the same breed of dog we were looking for. And I thought about her for 3 weeks while I went home, and then when I came back, she was still there. So I took her, but I don't think I've ever made an impulsive animal purchase ever.
So Aria, my Shih Tzu, I had wanted a Shih Tzu ever since your mom's friend Rhonda got a Shih Tzu, because when we went to Vernon to go visit, she had just gotten that dog, and it was a puppy, and it was like short haired and so cute.
They
and
are
I was
so
just
fuzzy
like,
little fluff
oh my
balls.
God, I have to have a Shih Tzu as a dog. I want a Shih Tzu. So, and then I was like looking at them online, and I'm like, yeah, this is the perfect dog for me. They're so cute, And when I found one of my neighbors in my apartment complex had a Shih Tzu that they were giving away. They had offered. They were like, hey, if you guys want a dog, we have a Shih Tzu. And I was like, what? You have a Shih Tzu? And they're like, yeah, we want to give her away because we didn't bond with her. And I was like, yeah, I'll take her. And I literally just like went up to her apartment 30 minutes later and came back down with a dog. And, I didn't have dog food. I didn't have a leash. I didn't have a game plan or anything. But so it was impulsive, but it was something I'd always wanted.
Yeah.
Probably for like 10 years before that. So I was really excited to have her. The cats, obviously, like we had kind of planned the cats out. My dog that is Jean-Luc, he is a Jack Russell Terrier or Parsons Russell Terrier. He might be mixed with something else. We're not sure. But he was an impulse, very short impulse. I was actually at a scouting event, and one of the moms was like, oh, we just got a dog, so we can't stay long. We just adopted him this morning. I want to go home. The Dallas County is doing free adoptions today and tomorrow. In case you want a dog. And I was like, they are? I was like, free dog? Cause
they're never free.
No, but if you rescue a dog, there's a fee. Most places will charge you, like for the cats that we rescued, we had to pay.
There's about $70, I believe.
Something like that. And the same thing with the dogs. In some of the places here, you have to apply, and like they will come to your home and determine if you're a worthy candidate for this dog.
Yeah.
And so it is like a process. So it's really like prevents people from impulsively adopting a pet that they're really not prepared to have.
Right.
But I was like, oh, no red tape. I can just go get a dog. And so I just like drove on up there that day. And I was like, what kind of dogs do you guys have? You know, and they were all big dogs. And I was like, I told myself, I'm only getting a little dog and I want it to be a girl dog. And I walked in and they were all big dogs. They were all like pit bulls and German shepherds. And I was like, oh man, I got my heart all set on a dog. I thought I was going to just pick up some random cute dog, and I was like, I don't really want a big dog. And then the last kennel was Jean-Luc. And I was like, a little dog. And then I was like, I want to meet this dog. And they pulled him out of the kennel, and I was with him for like 2 minutes. And I was like, okay. It was very impulsive. I didn't even he just was cool. You know, he was nice. And
he's a sweet little puppy.
Yeah. And he got in the car with me, and he put his paws on the console in the middle and like watched me drive, and he was just real chill. And I was like, okay, I feel like this is a good idea. I was never like having buyer's remorse, you know.
Yeah. Oh, and even Aria like took to him immediately because she was lonely.
Yeah. That was one of the reasons I had been thinking like, oh, it would be kind of nice for her to have another dog, because I had moved out and my roommate used to be, you know, she worked the graveyard shift, so she was asleep or at home while I was at work. So my dog was never home alone. And then I moved out, and now suddenly my dog was having to be home alone, and I felt bad for her. So I was thinking like, oh, it would be nice if she had another dog to be with in the daytime. So it's just kind of like imagining it. And
I would go slap you upside the
sorry,
head.
I can't sit still.
You're just sitting here
You're
doing
like,
this. You're going like this, talking. Your chair's swinging. And your head's up here like this.
This is
This is
Kristen when she tried to read when she was little, because that's what she would do. She'd do that.
Yeah, it's hard to read when you're doing like this.
It is.
Yeah. So that's my impulse dog. And then my second dog, or my third dog, sorry, Nunu, is my grandmother's dog. When my grandmother was living with my mom, there was a lot of struggle with the dog, because the dog and my grandmother,
Neither one of them were potty trained.
Right.
They weren't housebroke.
My grandmother was not understanding the needs of the dog anymore because of her dementia. And so when she moved into the memory care facility, Mom had thought that the neighbor would be a good fit for Nunu. They were wanting a small dog, and she took Nunu over there, and their dog like put his mouth over her head like instantly. And my mom was like, nope, not a good home. And I think we had been babysitting the dog for like a week or something.
Yeah, you were just babysitting
because you guys were out of town or something. And so we were watching her, and we had her for the week, and the dogs were getting along, and she was kind of fun to have. And then it was like, oh, now we have to take Nunu back to, or Baby, you know, her name was
Baby then, yeah.
Mm-hmm. We have to take her back. And so we drove all the way to my mom's, dropped the dog off.
To go meet my next door neighbor dog.
Yeah,
yes.
And then my husband and I went off. It was our anniversary. And so we were off having like our anniversary dinner. And my mom calls me and she's like, well, we have a problem.
You got to take the dog back for
Baby
a few more
is
times.
Not a good fit. Can she come back to your house?
Just for a little while.
Yeah. And then it was like, well, can I just keep her? Because while my husband and I were having our anniversary dinner, we were talking about how we were going to miss Baby, and he had said he wished he could keep her.
And he was not the dog person.
No, he's not the dog person. I'm the dog person, and Raina is the dog person. You know, we're like, we love our dogs. But Travis is just kind of like, meh. So Nunu is
That
his
dog.
dog.
Nunu is his
She
dog.
is his dog. She follows him around the house, and she just wants to be in whatever room he's in. She could care less about me. She could care less.
Yeah.
So she was also an impulsive dog because it was just like, okay, we
She
have
was-
a new dog.
Yeah, yeah. She was supposed to go somewhere else, literally. And
Yeah.
yeah. They were like, "Can we just keep her?"
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see, getting impulsive dogs, and I've certainly had my fair share of dogs that were just mutts, or a friend had puppies and we took a puppy, things like that. But after seeing a lot of issues with people impulsively getting animals and then complaining about things that are breed traits.
Yes, and I was going to say that's
and
one of the things about
it has taught me that I think I always want to research, like particularly with dogs or whatever, research the breed thoroughly to make sure it's a good fit for me. And one of the reasons that we selected the Great Pyrenees, Sophie, was because we suspected one of our previous dogs had some Pyrenees in her, and we liked the traits. They're good guard dogs. They're pretty quiet. They're not overly rambunctious, but they're very affectionate, and they're really good guard dogs because they're big and they're loud and they bark at people, but they're also friendly with people when you introduce them. They're not aggressive in any way. They're
or
just
skittish.
or skittish. They're just protective. They announce that they're here and, keep the animals away or whatever. And they're pretty laid back. And so those were some of the things that we were looking at in those dogs, and we liked those traits in our previous dogs. So we chose that breed for those reasons, for the things that we saw in her that we liked. And I have not been unhappy with her at all. The only thing that I ever really complain about is the fur, and that's because we live in such a warm climate that she's just constantly shedding, and she's very hot in the summertime here because she is a mountain dog, and if it's 0 degrees outside, she's like, "Let me out. I want to be out there." And so I hate all the fur. And then she does have a tendency to bark a lot, because Pyrenees are guard dogs. So if they hear a noise, they bark. And and so I've had to kind of train her to not bark so much, but sometimes I just let her bark, because that's what she likes.
I think that, like, I do say, like, Jean-Luc being my impulse dog, I don't regret adopting him, but I would never adopt another Jack Russell Terrier or Parson Russell Terrier again, because they are very hyper dogs, and they are also barkers also.
Yeah.
More, you think your dog barks.
Oh,
You
I
have
know.
no idea.
Jean-Luc has been here. Yes, I know.
Yes, he barks at everything.
Yes.
And working from home, it's actually really, really challenging because, trying to Zoom with people or have a phone call.
Well, and these are the kind of things that cause people to adopt a dog and get rid of it.
Get rid of their dog, yeah.
Because the dog barks too much, and that's why I say doing that research on the dog. Is this breed of dog good with kids? Is this breed of dog good with other dogs?
Right.
People also aren't willing to train their dogs either.
That is another thing.
That was like a problem I had with my ex-husband, is that he wanted to have these dogs, but he didn't want to train them or take care of them or walk them or feed them even sometimes. And so I ended up having to do all of those things, and I'm not really a dog person. I mean, I am. It's just like I've been bitten in the face several times, throughout my
Those
life
are badly trained dogs.
by
Yeah.
dogs. So that has kind of made me very hesitant
Yeah.
around dogs. I have to constantly spend time with a dog for me to trust that dog.
Yeah.
And when I started dating Jason, he had a dog, a part pit bull actually, but she is a very sweet dog, but also very hyper.
Yeah.
But she's not like a chewer like a lot of pit bulls are. But she's a very good guard dog, but she's just, all over the place, jumping around all over the place. Take me outside, do this, do that.
Mhm.
And the only, and one time she did get pretty excited about something, and her tooth caught in me. So it wasn't exactly like biting me, it hurt, but she's not a vicious dog. She's a very, very sweet and loving dog, and she occasionally likes to chase my cats and Jason's cat. But we've been training her not to automatically think that the cats want to play chase with her.
Yeah.
And so that has, of course, been the challenge, combining both of our families as far as animals are concerned. But I would say that, as far as compulsive and everything like that, like I said, my ex-husband had a thing about bringing home animals, and that's, of course, how I ended up with so many cats. Was that, my oldest cat, Lulu, was one that he came home with.
Mm.
And then after my mom died, my second oldest cat, Blue, my ex-husband came home with Blue to distract me from the death of my mom, I guess. And then when we moved out to Denton, my other two cats, those were, I guess, my compulsion, because my friend Catherine asked if I would help her find homes, because I had found homes for my mom's cats and found homes for all the puppies that my dog had. Mm-hmm. So I guess I was pretty good at, vetting and finding homes at that point. And my friend Catherine had trapped some cats. She lived out in the country, and she had trapped some woodsy cats. Some kittens, not like cats, but kittens. But she was trying to trap the cats and, catch and release.
Mm-hmm.
And so she had trapped these kittens, and she could not find homes for two of them. So she asked if I could help her, going in the town of Denton and trying to find homes. And I was like, well, yeah, we've got a lot of cats, but, if this is temporary, it's fine. And of course, I'm such I'm such a sucker for kittens. It's not even funny.
That's why I can't foster dogs.
So yeah, I had
them.
these two foster kittens, and they just I fell in love with them. They slept on my neck. It was just a whole ordeal. And I'm like, well, I guess, two kittens, they can distract each other and fight each other instead of tearing up the whole place, which, worked for the most part. I mean, they still tore stuff up, but it wasn't as bad because they were too busy tearing each other up, which was nice. But also at the same time, now those two kittens are about to be 3 years old. Crazy. They are the best cats. My cat Chewy is the best impulse I ever had with a cat, I want to say. He is my baby, and I'm sure I've posted pictures on the blog, but I can post pictures of him and all the other cats. But he is a Norwegian forest cat, so he's like a 19-pound cat. He's a huge cat.
He's a really fluffy, fuzzy, he's
huge,
so pretty,
fluffy cat. And you could kind of tell when he was a kitten that he might be a big cat because he had big paws for a kitten. But he just blew up. He grew to be this huge thing, and I have a queen size bed, and he can stretch himself almost all the way across the queen size bed. If he stretches his paws out to paws out,
Wow.
he is that long. Like, he is really huge. And I've even taken pictures of me holding him up, like he can go the length of my body, and like pulling him across and stuff like that. And his favorite thing to do is wrestle with Jason on the floor, and they'll like roll on the floor. And he's just like the biggest thing in the world. And his sister, who is she's not Siamese, who's like, I forgot the name of like the two-tone colored cats. They're not Siamese. I mean calico. She's not a calico. But there's another specific word for just two colors of a cat. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. But
the only two-color cat name I know of is Tuxedo.
well, no, I do have a tuxedo cat. My cat Lulu is a tuxedo. Let me look this up real quick.
There's a little tuxedo kitty that always is under my car every morning when we go take Raina to school. He's so cute.
Yeah, they are cute with that little patch of white fluff right there.
He's got like a little white mustache.
Mustache, yeah, sometimes.
White socks.
Yeah.
What is this? This is okay, she's a tortoise shell cat.
Tortoise shell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I couldn't find the name. I had to like Google it really quickly, but she's a tortoise shell cat.
Oh, yes, I saw you had a post about her a while back. I remember seeing that.
But yeah,
or the other day or something.
Yeah, so his sister, she's not as big as him, but she's pretty bigger definitely than my other two cats. Blue, he is just like he's a Siamese. His mother was a Siamese, but he's like brownish black color. But Katniss is a tortoise shell, and Blue is a Siamese, even though he's kind of brownish black colored. And Lulu is a tuxedo cat. And yeah, my Siamese and my tuxedo cat, way smaller than those other two kittens. They're all huge. And then Jason has like a black cat named Jupiter that is kind of like Kristen, your cat Davy, like very much like that same build.
Mm-hmm. Kind of slinky.
Mm-hmm. And Jason's cat, it was an impulse because he rescued Jupiter from a tree, and then Jupiter followed him home.
Aww.
And so he was just like, well, I guess you're my cat now. And Daisy, he adopted the dog Daisy because a friend of his had passed away, and Daisy was her dog.
Oh.
And they were going to take her to the pound, and he just couldn't allow that to happen. So
yeah. So we've covered how we acquired our dogs and cats.
Yeah, and how impulsive we are,
right?
Or not.
Have you ever had another animal other than a dog or a cat that was impulsive?
Oh, every time I'd go to the store and buy a fish, there was a while there where like every time, because I had like a succession of betta fishes since high school, and it was like my mom got me that first betta fish, and then he lived for a few years longer than most fishes live. And then the next fish I got was another impulse of, hey, here's some fish at Walmart. I'm going to get some fish.
So, I remember back when they used to have fish tanks at Walmart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And now, to this day, it's been a few years since I've had a betta fish. To this day, I'll go into like PetSmart and I'll side-eye the betta fish. And I'm like, I miss my Captain Crackers, which was the last betta fish that I had. But yeah, the only problem is that fish are a pain in the butt, and
they don't live very long.
Yeah, they don't live very long. They're cheap though, and I have a tank. It's just
so
I had some fancy guppies for a while.
Oh, guppies!
And yes,
yeah.
The fancy tail guppies. Yeah, they're like I don't know. They have the really they're like orange, and they have really pretty orange tails. They're really pretty.
I don't know how it came about, but when we were in college, we went to the mall, and
the hermit crabs.
we got hermit crabs.
Yeah.
I didn't know a darn thing about hermit crabs. I'd never even heard of one or seen one before.
But they're so cute in their little
And
shells.
I saw it and I was like, I want that. And I got
And
a
she brought
hermit
that
crab.
home.
I did. And I he was in my dorm, and then he came home with me for school break, and then we went
We went on vacation.
I had that hermit crab for a long time, just one. And then we went on vacation, and we were like, let's get more hermit crabs. And
No,
we bought,
not we.
well, me, myself, and I. Yeah.
Decided
I
to
got-
get another hermit crab.
Yeah, I got like 3 more hermit
did you?
crabs, and then they like ate each other, and that was the most
Oh
depressing thing in the world.
no!
Yeah, it was weird. Like I didn't know that
And they
were
ate her other
territorial.
hermit crab, didn't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really
You
sad.
were always like picking stuff up in college because remember Sammy the salamander
Yes.
that you rescued, quote unquote, from
Yes.
our front porch.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Spidey the spider.
Yes.
Oh,
I
gosh.
had a pet spider. I think I brought him from Dallas back to.
Ew.
Like he was in my room here, and I put him in a jar and took him back home with me.
And then you
And-
tried to feed him a dead fly, and he was all
Yeah,
like,
he
"No,
didn't
I want
want
a
my
live fly."
Yeah.
They want the blood.
Yeah. And yeah, there was a salamander, like, you know, a real salamander, not just some rando lizard. It was a real actual salamander, because I was actually in zoology, and I saw the salamander, and I was like, whoa, cool, salamander. I have an empty hermit crab cage I can put him in. So I scooped him up, and then I took him to class, and my professor was like, yeah, that's a real salamander you got there. And he was like, you should keep him because it was getting close to winter, and they like burrow in the mud during winter time in the lakes, and he was like, he's kind of far away from the pond. He probably won't survive if you just set him back out in the yard.
Yeah.
And so I was like, cool, I kept him, and then we let him go.
Yeah, I think we took him out to
And
the lake
Sent him
or
to the lake or something. I
pond
don't even
or
remember.
something.
I don't remember saying goodbye to Sammy, but he ate ham, lunch meat.
Oh, God. Yeah. Gave him a heart attack.
Right.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
So he was definitely impulsive, because I was just like, saw an animal on the ground and was like, mine, which is bad.
Well, when I was a kid, we used to capture when they were still around, and we didn't keep them very long because we always had to turn them loose. But the horned frogs, the Texas horned
That's like
lizard.
illegal, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because they're an endangered species now, but they weren't then. Yeah, we would capture those and feed them red ants and keep them in a shoebox.
Those are fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my friends growing up had one of those, and she lost him
Aw.
in her front yard. He like got out of her hand and ran away. And was
Yeah, I
like,
would too.
"Dang, that's
Yeah.
sad."
Yeah.
But yeah, we had I had a lot of well, I don't say I had a lot of different pets. We mostly had dogs. My mom had a cat. We had a hamster until said cat figured out how to get into the hamster cage and killed my beloved hamster. So I had a hard feelings about cats for a long time
Well,
after
that's
that,
really tough because I
it
had
is.
hamsters also,
Right.
and
And that was a good hamster too, because she didn't bite. She was very friendly, and you could just hold her and pet her, and
Mhm. I've
and we could
always
take her out
wanted
of the
a
cage and
hamster.
stuff. But
I've always
yeah,
wanted
she was
one of
she was
those.
like one of those teddy bear hamsters. She was
yeah,
really
they're
fluffy.
they're very cute. Like I know, Kristen, you know me. Like we always had animals
Mhm.
growing up. Like my mom and I, we had a show rabbit business, and we had a barn in our backyard. So we had like 100 rabbits or whatever. And then I had a rabbit that lived inside the house that my cousin gave me. And then we would go to a rabbit show. We'd pack the van up full of rabbits. We'd go to the rabbit show, and we'd enter these raffles because my mom and I compulsively entered raffles but they'd always have a raffle, to make money for the rabbit show. So we'd buy a few tickets, and we'd always end up winning random stuff. And one time we went and I won a couple of hamsters. There was like a Chinese albino hamster and then like one of those teddy bear hamsters. And they were a boy and girl. I named them Fred and Ginger. And Fred and Ginger had babies. And they were like the sweetest, cutest little babies. Oh my God.
Oh God, a little naked skin.
Yeah, they were so cute. And one of the babies loved me, like would sleep on me.
Aww.
And it was so cute. And then we had this cat. She was more like my mom's cat, Baby Blue. And she was a fuzzy cat. We had this cat, and, we had a few cats, but I shut the door to my bedroom every day because I didn't want the cats to get the hamsters. Mm-hmm. And I guess she slipped in, and I didn't realize she was hiding in my room. And so I went to school and came home, and my hamster cage was, like, all over the floor. And she ate my babies.
Oh.
All I found were baby parts all over the floor. The mom and the...
Oh, that's traumatizing.
I know. The mom and the dad hid, and I found them, but the babies couldn't hide fast enough, and she ate the babies. And there were, just little parts everywhere. It was very traumatizing, and we buried them and stuff like that. And my other two hamsters, the mom and the dad, they never got over it. Like, the mom eventually, like, castrated the dad and killed him, and then she just starved herself to death because her babies were...
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It was, like, the craziest thing.
But see, that's one of those things, like the topic of the episode is choosing a pet.
Yeah.
And obviously keeping in mind,
your
animals,
other pets.
your other pets before you choose
I
them.
know.
Because
cats are naturally predators, and they want
and
hamsters are mice-like.
That was what happened with this. My mom just impulsively brought this cat home without thinking that we had a hamster. We had dogs, and the dogs got along with the cat okay because the cat was a kitten, but the kitten was a predator, and it wanted the hamster, and it would also we also had fish at that time, and it would try to get into the fish tank, but we could weight the fish tank lid to keep her out of it, but she got into that hamster cage, and, that was very short-sighted, to realize that you can't have those kind of animals together.
No.
Yeah.
That it's
and same thing with the, hermit crabs. Like, to this day, I think, I should have never got those other...
They're called hermit crabs for a reason.
I should have never got the other hermit crabs, because the other one would have been just fine. He was not lonely, know. And, I put his life at risk.
Or you could have them in separate cages.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there are certain types of dogs that you can't really have hamsters or rabbits or anything like that with too. Like, especially I know you want to. I know. John. That's what I was thinking. Like
probably
John
Baby
Luke would
too,
be
because
like
she's a Yorkie Dachshund mix. And
they seek and destroy.
Yeah, they seek and destroy. Yeah.
Like one of the dogs, of course, that my ex-husband brought home was a bird dog, and she's a hunter, a pointer, so she would go in our backyard and chase down the rabbits and then jump in the air and snatch the birds and stuff
John
like
Luke
that.
Did that. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is when I realized you can't have other animals around John Luke. There was a bird that flew and like hit my window and crashed, and it was injured, and I was like, oh my gosh, the poor bird, and I picked it up, and it was kind of like dazed, and then the bird was like, okay, I'm good, I'm ready. I could tell it was like ready to fly, and I'm standing out in the middle of the backyard, and I'm like, okay, bird, and I lift it up to put it up in the air, and my dog went, howl!
Oh.
And the bird did not make it. And
And that's where, if the bird hits the door, you should just leave the bird.
I know. I should have just left it there.
Because
I'm like, I need to stop interfering with the
birds,
lives of
the
animals.
birds will recover their senses, and they will fly away on their own, or they won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah, but yeah, I've always wanted to have chickens, to have eggs. And I've always
you
wanted
could not
a
have
hamster.
chickens with those animals.
Cannot
No.
have.
Not
Now-
with
Can't have a bird in
You
the
can't
house
have
either
a predatory dog with
because of John Luke. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, like I
Now,
don't think we could have
Calypso-
chickens with Daisy either. As hyper as she
Calypso
is.
or Calypso. That's my old dog. Sophie, I could probably have chickens with because she is a guard dog for flocks, and so they are, they're bred to. Usually, they're raised with the flocks. I don't know how she would react specifically, but usually they are raised to be protectors of those flocks. Now, what she's not good with is other dogs. The Great Pyrenees are intolerant of certain other dog breeds, and so some dogs breeds she's probably okay with, but they are bred to be territorial against wolves and other dogs and other animals that might try to harm the herd. So, she's good with other animals probably, but not so much with the dogs.
Yeah. One of the other things that I probably would have liked to have been more thoughtful on is allergies.
Yes.
In two different cases where I had adopted an animal. So the most recent one, obviously, is John Luke. Everything always points to John Luke. I love that dog. Don't get me wrong. But
Nunu has some allergies as well.
Well, and I'm talking about humans being allergic.
Oh, being allergic to the dogs. Yes.
To the dogs. He is a wire coat.
Yeah, and I'm
he
allergic to
sheds.
those. Yeah.
Yeah, and with Aria, she has just this baby fine, like spider web fine hair. I don't even never notice. I don't look like
she
I
has
have
hair.
A dog.
It's like human hair.
Yeah, and she doesn't.
And there
shed.
are some dog
Right.
breeds that are that way.
And so she's hypoallergenic, and I never had problems with dog hair until I got John Luke, and then suddenly everything is covered in dog hair. Everywhere in the house is covered in dog hair, and so I look back at that and I'm like, okay, next time I ever get a dog, I'm not getting a wire hair dog or that type of coat of fur.
This
I'll
is the
stick
same with cats,
Yeah.
as well. Wiry cats, like my tortoise Katniss, she's got that wiry coat that I'm allergic to. So, I sleep with sometimes long sleeves now, just, so I don't get itchy.
Yeah. My other time where I didn't think enough or plan ahead or make a good decision was when I first adopted a cat. And that is because it was purely, I want an animal. Oh, Amber likes cats. I'll get a cat too. I didn't think about other people and how they would be impacted. My dad's deathly allergic to cats, but it never crossed my mind if I get a cat, then my dad can't come over to my house.
Yeah.
I was young. I was 21, 22 years old, when we got those cats, and that just didn't ever cross my mind. And then it was well, dang, now my dad can't come over and I've got this cat, So that made it really challenging for a really long time while I had the cats.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a lot of people don't think, or they may not even know that they're allergic to those animals. And that's where
they get one.
That's where spending some time with some different animals, at a rescue or whatever, checking those things out as well.
Yeah, we never knew Raina was allergic to dogs until she moved in, and her allergies got worse. And it was there's, a lot of dog hair everywhere. And she's always squeezing and cuddling on the dogs. She loves the dogs. So that's another element of, obviously we're not going to get rid of the dogs because she loves them and I love them. And
it's tough.
It's just one of those things, that you have to deal with.
Allergy pills.
And that's,
get allergy shots. And
there, like I said, we went, 10 or more years without a dog for various reasons. And part of it was because our busy schedule didn't allow for us to have a dog. I mean, we thought about that, that we don't have time for a dog. We're gone a lot. It wouldn't get the attention that it needs. And people don't realize you can't just get a dog and stick it outside. They need attention. They need to be walked. They need to play. They need to interact with humans a lot. And because they think you're part of their pack. And so, and even cats, a lot of people think that cats don't need people, but cats actually get lonely too. They get lonely and they get bored and they get feral. And so it's important to think about your schedule and how much time you can dedicate to any kind of animal. And that includes other kinds of animals too. Like a lot of people think, oh, it'd be cool to have a ferret or something like that. But there's a lot of other considerations to
Ferrets
having those animals. Well, they do have a smell, and they have to be fixed, or you have to breed them, one or the other. You can't just allow them to be not neutered, spayed or neutered, and not breed, because they actually get some. I can't remember what it is, but it's something that causes their organs to make them very, very sick if they don't breed. So, and there's a lot of animals that can do that as well. Dogs as well. If you have unspayed females that continue to be unspayed and don't breed, they can develop these disorders in their uterus or whatever that cause them to be very, very, very sick. So that's something to think about. If you're not going to breed this dog, and really, unless you are breeding show dogs, and you're breeding for quality, you should not be breeding your dogs. So they should be spayed and neutered, because there is no reason to breed them. And you want to do what is best for their health, and that is to have them spayed or neutered. And that goes for all animals, any kind. If you're going even so much as getting guppies, I talked about my little fancy-tailed guppies. Well, guess what? Fancy-tailed guppies breed like crazy. So you've got to be prepared to either keep the males and females separated so they don't breed, or you're going to have to be deciding what to do with all these extra fish that you have, because they breed a lot, like rabbits. And and you know what I'm talking about with rabbits too, because they breed a lot.
Well, we specifically bred them.
Yes. But they, the thing is that people don't think those things through.
Yeah.
And pretty soon you have a lot more fish than you thought you were going to have, or whatever. And, or if you travel, taking into consideration, what are you going to do with these animals when you travel? Because you can't take your fish or your bird or your ferret with you. Sometimes you can take your dogs with you, but not always. And you can't necessarily just leave them at home, either. So
yeah, it's tough. Like when I had a betta fish, I couldn't, when I go home for Thanksgiving or whatever, I couldn't leave him by himself with my cats. Like cats are very self-sufficient, and I could go for 2 days and put out enough food and litter box and stuff like that. They're very self-sufficient. But as far as like my betta fish, I would have to scoop up Captain Crackers, put him in his little travel container, and then stick him in my cup holder and take him home.
And he got to go for a ride.
Yes, he was a traveling fish. That's probably why he didn't live very long, only like 6 months.
Yeah. Well, fish don't live very long anyway, so
I know that.
I don't know what their lifespan is, but it's not very long.
My very first betta, he lived like 3 years, and that's
wow.
like a really long time for a betta fish. He even developed like a tumor.
Oh, wow.
And so, but he lived out his life like he was a long-winded fish. And not the next one, but the one after, he lived like 2.5 years.
Wow.
His name was Jake the Snake.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, Captain Crackers, Jake the Snake.
Yeah.
Oh, and I had one name.
Names.
I had one named Fabio, and then I had a betta named Benjamin Buford Blue.
Wow.
Yeah, Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's funny. Did he like shrimp?
he did.
Shrimp.
He likes shrimp burgers.
Shrimp.
Fun. So if there was one animal that you could have without consequences, or
What do you mean without consequences?
like if someone said, if you had $1 billion and no consequences, what would you buy? If you
Or
had any
have.
choice in animal as a pet, whatever, what would you get?
That's tough.
That is hard.
Probably an owl.
Interesting. An owl.
I know. I have a thing about birds, but I do love owls.
Well, it's funny because I would love to have a parrot.
And
that's
that
the
was
reason.
the first thing that came to my mind.
Consequences with a parrot.
They're very long lived, and in fact, sometimes they outlive their owners.
Oftentimes,
yeah.
yeah.
And but parrots are very fun to have. And
sorry, keep going.
I
I was just like thinking like, oh, I answered wrong. I'd
No,
rather
you
have
can
a
go back.
You can go back.
Ooh,
yeah,
I'd rather
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I want
said
an
that
owl
was the
also,
first.
but I would rather have a sloth. Yeah.
Oh, a sloth. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, she said the parrot, and I was actually thinking the parrot, and then I thought ferret.
Yeah.
Maybe a ferret. Because we actually had the opportunity to rescue a ferret for once upon a time, and that's a story for another podcast. But the ferret was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And
that's my number 2 on the list.
I don't know that they would all be that same personality, though. That's my fear. And
a lot of them are, though.
Yeah.
My cousin
Right, but
had
this is
ferrets.
no consequence.
Like,
No consequence,
this is
right.
the dream
So
ferret.
So
He doesn't stink.
the hamster also,
Oh my God, they stink.
or a bunny rabbit. Those would be. My son always wanted a bunny rabbit, a house
they're
bunny.
So
did your
fun.
daughter.
Like I had.
Yeah.
I had a house bunny.
But I was
His
afraid
name was
they would
Thumper.
chew on things or that the dog would eat them. So, so those would be because they're cuddly and they're cute.
Well,
and
my dog growing up was scared of Thumper. Like Thumper was little, like a mini lop, and we had a cat named Sandy and a dog named
I
Shelby.
love the lop ears.
And
They're so cute.
Thumper, when we let him out of his cage, he would chase the dog and the cat, and they were both deathly scared of
Is
him.
that the one that your grandma used to call Gooch Eye?
Gooch Eye, yeah.
Yeah.
What is the critter from the Monty Python, the killer attack?
It's albino bunny.
Yeah, the albino bunny.
But truly, like rabbits can be vicious. Like
Yeah,
they can
they
kick
can.
another animal and break their ribs. I mean, not that Thumper would do that, but the other
and their teeth can.
yeah,
bite
they
like
can
the
bite
Dickens.
through.
I
Yeah, like
was trying to
they're,
find
like,
a-
really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, we would let Thumper out when we had Shelby in the house, and it was just so funny because like Shelby was scared. Well, she was best friends with our cat, but she was also like she would run if the cat would chase her, and so like the cat was scared of Thumper. So it would just be funny to watch when they were both in the house because Thumper would chase the cat, and he just thought this was the funniest thing ever that they would both run from him. And because they ran from him, he'd just go faster and start hopping and chasing and chasing and chasing. And it was just the funniest thing in the world because he would chase the cat would chase the dog, and they would like run like it was just like kind of a circle like through the hallway and through the dining room and through the den and stuff like that, and they'd just go in this circle all around like the whole time. And Thumper just thought it was the funnest thing in the world to chase the two big animals.
Oh, I love animals. I do. And honestly, probably the other thing that I would want maybe is another dog. Because Sophie is very definitely Mark's dog, and she is not cuddly with me at all, and I like cuddle dogs. And ever since Kristen got Aria, I have loved and have thought about getting a Shih Tzu, because she's just so soft and cuddly and sweet. And then my husband keeps saying, no, a Maltese, a Maltese, a Maltese. So then I started looking at the Maltese dogs and thinking, oh, because they have that same hair. And they're actually very smart too. So I keep thinking about, yeah, a little cuddly lap dog would be nice.
I think like if I could, well, I've always wanted this kind of dog. Ever since a friend of mine that had one in high school, I always wanted a corgi dog.
Oh, the corgis are awesome. They're so cute.
And my cousin breeds them, but it's just never been the right time to get a corgi from her. And now we have so many pets.
Yeah.
And they do have that type of fur that you don't like.
Yeah.
They do.
And
True.
And my
I
sister's
just love their
corgi
personalities.
had allergies, and because of her allergies, she had skin conditions, and she stank.
Yeah.
But she was cute, and they are fun. They are very cute
And very smart.
and very smart. Yes.
They're very royal, the Queen's corgis. Yes.
Yeah. Well, any other bits of advice for someone, cautionary tale or...
I think the biggest thing is to really, really research what you're looking for, and make sure it's a good fit with everyone in your family. And
don't get a snake and then be like, no, I don't want a snake, and then flush it.
oh yeah,
Or alligators, like all the
Crazy
people
people.
flushing the mini alligators and then them getting big and coming out of our sewer system.
yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah,
I-
don't get illegal exotic animals.
Yes, absolutely. Do not get exotic animals. Do not buy from puppy mills.
Don't be a tiger king.
If
Yes.
you're going to get a dog,
Adopt,
either
rescue.
adopt a rescue, or buy
Vet
a
out
dog,
a true breeder.
a true breeder. Go out to the breeder,
Full
meet the
bred.
breeder, view where the dogs are being bred. A reputable breeder will breed for health of the dogs, and will not be just breeding puppy after puppy after puppy after puppy.
And-
They're very selective also who they will sell to.
And consider the types of mixed breeds, and think about the consequences of the type of breeds that they mix together.
Yes, because
Oh, for
sometimes
sure.
they're
it
not
could have some
good.
undesirable traits
Mm-hmm.
that, yeah, because they can't control when they're breeding a Yorkie and a Dachshund to get a Dorky, or a Labrador and a Poodle to get a Labradoodle. They can't control what breed traits are going to show up. So just because it's this Labradoodle is not going to be equal to that Labradoodle, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
So you have to know it has to be a reputable breeder, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have
Or
to
if
consider
you
that.
just rescue from your local shelter, know that there's a lot of patience needed for those dogs
Yes,
and cats.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
be
because-
aware of, because usually they can identify at least some of the breeds that they think they are mixed with or whatever, and keep in mind the traits of those breeds, because like Kristen had the terrier. Terriers are going to be energetic, active dogs. They're going to need a lot of attention, a lot of activity. They're going to be aggressive towards smaller animals, hunter types, and so you'll want to know that. Some dogs dig, some dogs don't. So know what breeds dig and what breeds don't.
Keep
Know
in
what type
mind,
of dog-
like the health, like that type of breed, what kind of health
Yes,
that animal is going to have. Because I had a Norwegian forest cat is very similar to a Maine Coon, but they're also different. They're both very big. And I did have a Maine Coon cat, and Maine Coon cats are not really known for their health. They don't live very long. They normally die of heart problems, and I wasn't aware of that to get him checked out regularly. And now I'm ultra cautious with Chewy because he's also a bigger breed that I
Right.
must, foot the bill for the vet to get them checked out regularly.
right. And some dog breeds have specific problems, like Dachshunds tend to have back issues because their back is elongated, and some of the bigger dogs have hip dysplasia because they're so big and they're carrying so much weight. And
then certain dogs have special care needs, like
for their
pugs.
skin, yes, and for their any of the smudgy face dogs have breathing and nose issues. Some of them have eye issues and things like that. So,
and like certain dogs, like purely white dogs, you might want to take extra care with cleaning their faces and stuff,
right?
Like
because
more than you would other type of dogs.
Yes, because they get staining.
Yeah,
yes.
White animals also, because I had an albino cat, and then I have my tuxedo cat. They're like very prone to hairballs because they want their fur to be white, and then they go and roll in something and get all gross, and then they lick and lick and lick and lick.
A lot of my dog grooms herself like that as well.
Yeah,
a lot.
like they want to be white, and then they want to be their color, and then of course it's like my cat Jojo that we had growing up. He was, we had to feed him like a pineapple mixture to get the hairballs to come out because he licked himself so much.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, pineapple dissolves the hair.
Huh.
We also had to give him special medicine for his hairballs every day, which he did not like.
Yeah. So like I say, research. The AKC website has a lot of great information about dogs. I'm sure there's similar information about cat breeds and other animals. Just do a little bit of research, before you decide what kind of pet you want, and go and take it from there, and adopt wisely. They're a part of your family.
Yes.
Our little babies. Well, what are we talking about next week?
We are talking about memory keeping and some different ways that you can document the memories in your family. We've talked about this several different times in some different ways, including with the genealogy episode and some different things like that. So we're just going to talk in general about some different ways to do memory keeping, and you'll probably hear lots of stuff that we've talked about before, but maybe some new stuff too. So
probably lots of new stuff.
Lots of new stuff. We always find
take a deeper dive. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully you'll join us next week for that.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And we do want to give special thanks to Red Door Studios and Creative Audio Tech for our gear and music. And, of course, special thanks to our listeners for coming back week after week and experiencing the conversation with us. We do really appreciate your feedback. Whenever you guys give us a little poke or comment, we do really appreciate that. So keep sending those our way. And of course, if you want to continue the conversation, be sure to head over to our Facebook MMC chat. You can also check out our blogs on modernmusings.net. If you are just listening to the podcast, you're only getting part of the story. So make sure that you head over and check out our blogs. We usually have related content and sometimes off-the-wall content. So you want to make sure you check it out frequently. There's usually posts on Monday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So you're missing out if you're not checking those out. So just a reminder, it's National Adopt a Pet Day on Sunday. So if you haven't already been planning a pet, you might skip this one. Don't be impulsive and get your random dog. But
if you've been thinking about it, do a little research and then go,
and celebrate that day. And we will catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.